Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Tyler. I feel like this is long overdue. I've had it laid on my heart for a really long time now that I wanted to share my mental health story. And I've had a lot of people in my close circle tell me. And I guess the reason why I haven't told it is because I don't even know where to start. I've written a bunch of things down. I've tried rehearsing it. And no matter how I try to explain it, I can't say it all because there was so much that I've gone through. I've had depression, I want to say ever since I was probably 4 or 5 years old. I remember as a child, I I played alone a lot. I was always by myself. Well, not always by myself, obviously. I had 2 parents, but I kept myself occupied. I was a good kid. 9th grade, I had my first panic attack. I didn't know what it was. I thought I was having a heart attack. And I was waiting for my mom to pick me up. I think I was going to a dentist appointment. And I remember getting in the car and I was telling her how my heart was beating against my chest really fast. And ever since that day, I found out that I had anxiety. And it just progressed throughout the years and it eventually got pretty bad. When I was 18 years old, I graduated high school, and I had big dreams. I was a hard worker ever since I was 14 years old. I've had a job, and I've been very goal-oriented, and I wanted a really good life for myself. Me and my mom opened up a store. We made art together, and shit, I didn't know I was gonna cry. We had a store. And we made art together. That was our thing, you know? Trying to get my shit together here. 6 months after I graduated high school, well, I guess 4 months after I graduated high school, my parents split up. And so I started going to therapy for that. And 2 months after that, my mom committed suicide. I was trying to do this without crying. Give myself a second here. I guess ever since that happened, my life started to spiral downward. You know that running joke in like 2008 to 2010 where everyone said that the world was gonna end in 2012? My world did. It felt like that anyway. My mom was my best friend. I did everything with her. We did everything together. She is the reason why I even started doing art. I've always been drawn to it, but God, she was just a light. I can't say enough good things about her. She was an amazing mom, even though she had her struggles. I remember when I was 2, she attempted suicide the first time. And I'll never forget how in disbelief I was and how much that broke me. For a very long time after that, I struggled with really bad depression. At 19 years old, me and my dad kicked me out. We weren't on speaking terms or anything like that, and that's a whole nother story for another time, and it doesn't really matter at this point. But I just remember moving in with my boyfriend at the time and him not really understanding. I went through all of this really hard stuff and I was on and off several different antidepressant medications. I would take medicine and the thing is I would take a pill and over the course of time the doctor would have to keep upping my dose because I'm a particularly small person. Like I've always been skinny. And my body would metabolize the medication and eventually I'd be at the max dose and it would quit working and it would just numb me. And I'll never forget when after my parents split up, and then my mom committed suicide, and then I had a doctor look at me and he goes, "You know what, Ty?" And he meant this with every ounce of his being and every part of his heart, because he lost his father when he was 15. He shared that with me. And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he said, "You know what, Ty? I don't want to tell you this. I'm not disregarding your feelings, but you can only slap a Band-Aid on the problem for so long." He's like, "You need to do the work to heal that." Coming from someone like a doctor that was older than me and I was 18, like, I really didn't fully understand. I was just trying to survive day to day. I was trying hard not to end my own life. I can't tell you how many times I've wished my way out of this life. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the dark. And through all of this, I've kept a full-time job. I paid my bills. In my early 20s, I went through a spending spree where I went into a bunch of credit card debt, about $20,000. And that was around the time when I got into modeling, and I was going on like trips to LA and Paris and stuff, and those credit cards paid for that too. It wasn't all just clothing. But I was looking for outlets to fill a void. I was trying to fill the void of my mom not being there anymore. And it was hard because I was living in between like homes with family and stuff, and didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life. And I, like, for a short time, well, back it up here, like when I was living with my ex, my now ex, I was going to college full-time, and I had a full-time job, and on top of all of that, I was trying to manage my mental health. And I just remember wanting to die so badly because I just felt like I had to work so hard to be happy. And when the second I was happy, it felt like it got ripped away from me. For a good 7 years, I struggled really bad. I can't even put into words how bad that pain was, and it led to physical things too. Yeah, I got into modeling. I'm pretty sure I developed an eating disorder at one point. I was really skinny. I was probably like 120 pounds, and I still wasn't skinny enough for the modeling industry. I lived with like my aunt and my dad, and I was kind of bouncing between homes of the family, and because I was embarrassed to tell them that I was going on these trips trying to follow my dreams, because I had 1 ounce, this split ounce of happiness, and I was like, this is the thing that I want to do. And I just remember not telling them that, like, they're like wondering where my money's going, and I've never been on, like, I'm not a drug addict, like, I didn't drink alcohol till I was 21 years old, but like, that's besides the point. But I just remember them being like, where the hell is all your money going? And I was too prideful to tell them, hey, I've been spending my feelings basically, and I have all of this stuff, and I still feel like I have nothing. When I was 25, I think I was 25 years old, I packed up my car, I quit one of the jobs that I absolutely hated, and I moved over 1,000 miles to the East Coast. I moved to New Jersey, and I tried following my dreams to pursue high fashion modeling at the time. And I remember I'd go to the gym religiously, and I'd eat really healthy, and I had to work really hard to stay that skinny. And I was going to, like, go-sees and like casting calls and stuff like that, and like I just couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting signed, and nobody would just fucking pick me. And I'm just like, I'm doing everything I can. I've paid for shoots at the time. I've done gigs for like Aveda and stuff like that, and I just couldn't figure out why nobody was picking me. I just felt like I was very, what's the word for it? I felt like I was invisible. I felt like I didn't have a voice. I felt like no matter how loud I screamed for help, nobody was there to save me. Obviously the high fashion modeling thing didn't work out for me. I moved back home to Minnesota in 2019, and I moved in with my dad, and I worked my ass off. And I felt like a loser. I was like watching everyone around me have babies and have a family and buy a house and, have an awesome career, and there I was, 25 years old, and I felt like I wasn't doing shit with my life. I've always worked really hard, but I felt like everything that I ever didn't pan out to be anything. And I just felt like so many people around me took so much from me because I'm a listener. I've always been intuitive that way. I've always been a really good listener, and I was a solid foundation. I felt like when my mom passed away, a lot of people leaned on me, and there was a place where, like, I don't think that I allowed myself the space and the time to heal from that. While I was living with my dad, I busted my ass. I worked really hard to save a lot of money, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna buy a house. And during that time, I say it's God. I got a message, like I get messages sometimes, and I don't tell a lot of people that because I'm not schizophrenic. I just intuitively know things. I have spiritual gifts. And I'm not boasting, I'm just saying, but like, I'm telling the truth, is what I'm trying to say. And I heard God tell me, you need to go to Walmart and you need to buy canvas and paint. And I'm like, fuck that. Screw art. I want nothing to do with it. I don't ever want to do this again. The thought of creating art pained me so much that I wanted nothing to do with it. It reminded me of my mom. And I was running. I ran for a really long time. I mean, this was going on 7.5 years. And I just felt like, I was like, what's the fucking point of being here? Well, then I started creating art, and I created my first painting. I'm like, dang, not too shabby. Like, I haven't really painted since high school. And during that time, I'd slowly start creating new things, and I started doing more art. And then by the time I knew it, I lived with my dad for like a year and a half, and I purchased my first home, which is right here, at 26 years old. And I'll never forget moving into this house, how lonely I felt. I've never lived alone in my entire life. I've always been super introverted. But it really hit me. I looked for love in all the wrong places. I got into a lot of shitty relationships that left me more broken than I already was at the time. I can't even tell you the physical stuff that I went through with like injuries, and I broke my arm, and like I went through all of this stuff. And even though I've went through some of the darkest moments in this house, I've done the most healing. To back it up a little bit, when I was living with my dad after I moved home from New Jersey, I started going to therapy because I was like, fuck medication. Like, I stopped taking meds when I moved to Jersey because A, I didn't have insurance, and B, I'm like, well, I got nothing to lose. This stuff makes me feel numb anyway, and it doesn't feel like it's helping, so whatever. I don't recommend that for anyone that's watching this video. Getting off medication cold turkey is dangerous. I had what they call the brain shakes, and my brain felt like it was shaking inside of my head. I felt very paranoid. Like, I felt like I was on coming off of drugs. It was bad. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so I bought this house, I went through the isolation, and all of this stuff poured out of me, and I started my art business, and I created my own website, and I started doing art markets again, and like I started to really figure out who I was. Like, for, I don't know, I want to say 26 years of my life at least, I didn't know who the fuck I was. To a point I did. I knew who I was because I knew I was Tyler, and I knew that I liked to do things, and I was motivated, and I knew who I was in a sense. I lacked confidence, I lacked stability, and I was looking for it in all the wrong places, and what I found was it was hidden very deep inside of me. I just had to do the work to work through some of this really hard shit. On December 29th, I don't know if I'm going to be posting this video after, but December 29th, 2023, marks 11 years since I lost my mom. And I guess the whole point to this video, and the reason why I'm making this, is because there are so many of us who struggle in silence. And there are so many of us who feel like we don't have a voice. And there are so many of us who feel like nobody cares. I might not know you, but I understand. I see you, you are heard, and I hope that, I just pray for you. I pray that you find that spark. I pray that you find the light deep within inside of yourself. And I pray for all of those dark moments to go away, because I'm living, walking, breathing proof that you can heal through this stuff. You can get better. You can accomplish the things even though your brain is black and white and it tells you you can't do these things. I'm living proof. Do I still have my days where I struggle with depression? Yes, but I know what methods and the things that work for me and the steps that I have to take to get out of that vicious spiral. I know when I'm going to start spiraling. I know when my anxiety's bad. I need to meditate. I know when I'm starting to get depressed. I have to get out of bed. I need to eat good food. I can't have sugar in the house. Like, I need to work out. I need to move my body. I need to get sunlight. It all starts with allowing yourself the space to be human. Stop beating yourself up. Stop that. If one of your friends wouldn't say that to you, don't say it to yourself. And if your friend would say that, fuck your friend. Get a new friend. Get new friends. I know it's not that simple, but I'm sharing my story because the reason why I do what I do, the reason why I create art, the reason why I'm a creative person is because I struggle with mental health. And I feel like most creative people struggle with depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD. They're just labels. It's not who you are. You're not a diagnosis. You're a human being, and there's a lot of good qualities inside of you. And I know you know what they are. And it's time to be really honest with yourself. Start with writing it down on a piece of paper. What do you like about yourself? And if you can't think of anything, don't beat yourself up for that. Leave that page open. You can fill in the blanks as you go along this journey. My art's based around mental health awareness. I guess the way that I like to think of my art is I pull the light out of the darkness. And if you're seeing this video today, I hope that you got some insight from it, and I hope that your life gets a lot better, and I just pray and I hope for you the best, and I want you to get through this, because I know you can. You got that light deep inside of you. And if you know someone that's struggling with depression and anxiety and you don't have those things and you don't understand, don't tell them to just think positive. That's the worst thing you can tell somebody when they're struggling with their mental health. Ask them what they need from you. Be like, okay, what can I do for you to help? Do you want me to listen? Do you want feedback? What do you need from me? And just the fact that you let somebody know that you're attentive and you're there and you're, I don't know, basically you give a shit, you can save their life without even realizing it. So I hope my story helped, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I just hope and pray that you live the life that you deserve to live, and that's a good one, because this trip is short, and it's way too short to be wishing your way out of this world. I hope you have an amazing week.